Good morning, everybody. My name is Crystal. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's Friday morning, nearly the weekend, and it's raining outside here in Rochester. It's raining. I feel better than I did yesterday. So we're going to try and make ourselves back to the way we were before I started to get all anxious and depressed again. So it is dark outside because it's raining, but let's see what today brings. Alexa, good morning.
Good morning, and a very happy backward day. Or should I say, day backward happy very A and morning good. It's a day where you do everything backwards, and it's celebrated every January 31st. Day lovely A have you hope I.
Happy backwards day, everybody. Alexa, what's the time, please?
Good morning, Crystal. It's 8:15 a.m.
Alexa, what's the date today?
Today is Friday the 31st of January.
Alexa, what's the weather outlook?
Currently, in Rochester it's 4 degrees Celsius with showers. You can expect more of the same today, with a high of 6 degrees and a low of 2 degrees.
Alexa, can you tell me a joke?
I would, but I'm afraid you might die laughing.
Alexa, who was born on this day?
Celebrities born on the 31st of January include Justin Timberlake, Kerry Washington, Jackie Robinson, Minnie Driver, and Doug Pedersen.
Alexa, who's Justin Timberlake?
Justin Randall Timberlake is an American singer, songwriter, record producer, actor, and dancer. Dubbed the Prince of Pop, Billboard honored him as the best performing solo act on Pop Airplay and one of the greatest pop stars of the 21st century.
Alexa, what group was Justin Timberlake in?
Justin Timberlake is currently a member of Jawbreakers and was formerly a member of NSYNC.
So he was a member of NSYNC. He was always... Alexa, was Justin Timberlake in the Mickey Mouse Club?
No. Justin Timberlake is a member of NSYNC.
Well, when he was younger, I think him and Britney Spears were something like in the Mickey Mouse Club or something. So he grew up with Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake did. So it's Justin Timberlake's birthday today. So yeah, me, myself and I are at home in Rochester, and I'm just drinking a cup of coffee and sorting my shopping out. Yesterday was particularly stressful. And stress is a killer. So I'm just trying to wind down now and keep stress free if I possibly can. Last night I did take Max out for a walk in the dark, and there had been reference to suicide on the news. Fortunately, because I pressurised Barclays Bank, and it was me that did that, nobody rang the bank for me, nobody helped me. In fact, somebody offered to help me on the day that my card was due to arrive, and my mum had sent me some money to arrive on the day the card was coming, but it was me that rang the phone to Barclays Bank. How anybody can say that I'm mentally unwell is absolutely ridiculous, and if they believed I was mentally ill and my card was stopped, and they were quite prepared, if I hadn't pushed it, to leave me in this flat with no electricity, right, and without food, unless I was thinking I'm gonna, my mum's elderly. Why should she have to give me money? I didn't want to pester my mother. I want to be an independent adult. I was absolutely ridiculous. So had they not sent my card, right, I had a family member that was quite willing to come down and help me, right, so I wouldn't have been feeling, in quote, suicidal, would I? And that is what they think you will be after they've taken everything off you, don't they? They think you're gonna, oh, I can't stand all this, I'm going to you know what I mean? I would never, ever, 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 ever do that. I've had police come into my flat, seeing me mentally distressed from the noise, and they've told me to go to the hospital and just sit there. Sit in the A&E department and ask to see somebody, right? That was more worse than what I was going through now, and I didn't contemplate anything like that now. So I was watching the news about the aeroplane disasters in America, the plane that collided with the helicopter that collided with the plane, and they're now giving out the details of and names of the people who's passed on, including the pilots. And one was called Spencer Lane. Spencer Lane. Diana's surname was Diana Spencer. Spencer Lane was one of the victims. Right? Princess Diana herself suffered from suicidal thoughts. So what it was, I was watching the news talking about the aircraft disaster, and the sports part of the news came on, and it was talking about someone who felt suicidal, and it was just for about 20 seconds. This sports guy looking all miserable, and it cut off, but there was a warning. You know, if you feel like this, go and get help. Very distressing to have to listen to that and then go outside and walk your dog in the pitch black, which I did. I walked around the field, and there's steps leading up to the river now. Steps. I don't know what they're doing there. I managed to walk around the field okay. I wasn't feeling distressed at all. No, because I'd got my card, I'd got some food, and I'd eaten before I went out, and I was quite okay. It's just the thought that someone would think that they're making your life so miserable that you would end it. Why would you do that? And of course, later on in the day, I heard that Marianne Faithfull, the same age as my elderly mother Jennifer, died, and they've started that Jennifer business on the telly as well. And does Genestra look like Jennifer? One of the people on the American side of the television was called Jennifer. Jennifer. My name is not Jennifer, it's Genestra. So I get bags from Amazon with Lopez on. Of course, there's a Jennifer Lopez. And my mum used to have sayings, her own sayings. They're not mine. I might say, okay, all right, you know. But my mum's got specific sayings that she used to say years ago. And she hasn't got a television set right now, but I have. It's my mum who hasn't got a television set. I have, so but my mum has got Alexa. So I phoned my mum up last night to tell her I got my card okay. And I said, did you hear about the American plane disaster? And she said, yes, I listened to the news on Alexa. So my mum's fully aware of what's going on because she can't see on the television, but she's got an Alexa that she can ask the new to play Sky News or BBC News, because I can. So I'll show you. Alexa, can you play the news, please?
Here's the news. In Sky News streams.
Coming up next, we have more on the day's big stories. Remember, at any time you can ask your device to skip and it'll move you on to the next item.
Our US correspondent Mark Stone reports, and a warning that the report does contain the footage of the moment of the crash, which you may find distressing.
In the skies over Washington, the moment of impact caught on camera. The horrifying collision between an American Airlines jet and a military helicopter over the nation's capital.
Crash. This is alert 3. Crash. This is alert 3.
Air traffic control radar captured the moment the paths of the two aircraft crossed. Hundreds of emergency personnel were called into action. Teams from DC, from Virginia, and from Maryland converging on a freezing night on the banks of the Potomac. Divers spent the night in the frigid water of the river, scouring the area for survivors. It was at this stage a rescue, but given what the cameras had caught, a rescue based more on hope than expectation. And by the early hours of the morning, the news no officials ever want to share.
Despite all those efforts, we are now at a point where we are switching from a rescue operation to a recovery operation. At this point, we don't believe there are any survivors from this accident.
As the sun rose over the Potomac, the debris was visible, with questions now turning to how the crash was able to happen in one of the most controlled parts of American airspace.
Well, the rescue turned recovery continues out there beyond the runway on the banks of the Potomac. It is a very, very challenging operation. The rescue teams are operating in freezing waters. The airport itself has now reopened, but the investigation is still in its very early stages. This is, of course, a huge first challenge for the new Trump administration.
And from the White House, the president spoke.
This was a dark and excruciating night in our nation's capital, then in our nation's history, and a tragedy of terrible proportions. As one nation, we grieve for every precious soul that has been taken from us so suddenly.
But then, with his new defense secretary listening, he sought to apply his view.
We do not know what led to this crash, but we have some very strong opinions and ideas, and I think we'll probably state those opinions now.
Pointing first at the military crew.
The people in the helicopter should have seen where they were going. I can't imagine people with 20/20 vision not seeing, what's happening up there.
And then at the air traffic controllers, claiming this national tragedy is the consequence of a woke recruitment policy.
The FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. Can you imagine?
You're trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't.
The conjecture from the president will be in stark contrast to the methodical investigation that is already underway. Experts at the scene alongside the recovery teams, all as the search for those who died continues along a debris field that is widening with strong currents and winds. It is America's worst aviation accident in over 2 decades.
Right, there you go. My mum has access to Alexa and she's heard all this. I've got a television, I've seen the Americans, and one woman called Jennifer was on the television last night. This is happening all across the board, I said, all across the world. This craziness and evil. So, I am sat here drinking a cup of coffee, wondering what the hell is going to happen next. Heard Donald Trump's opinion on what's happening in America. Maybe he shouldn't have said it, but that was his opinion. I myself believe we're all entitled to our opinions. And I can understand what he's saying. So, how do we prevent these things from happening again? It really needs looking into, doesn't it? Because it's something that shouldn't and needn't have happened. There's not been an accident like that in over 20 years in America. It shouldn't have happened at all. What's going on in this world? What is taking over? Evil. Today, I take things as they come. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen one day to the next. Everybody's got to enjoy the moment and enjoy where you are and try not to worry and just get on with your life, because nobody knows what is going to happen next, do they? Those poor passengers on that, well, the helicopter pilots, the passengers, future generations figure skaters, gone needlessly. Shouldn't have happened. That's left me stunned. Marianne Faithfull, right, was a 60s singer, and when you hear that someone in their 80s or 90s has passed on, right, it's understandable, right? You've come to the natural end of your life. But when a plane crashes with youngsters on it, young people out, the future generation, that's outrageous. I got through yesterday. I got through. What happens to me, in a way, people aren't being vetted for jobs, are they? You know, they aren't being vetted properly. And, you know, if Keir Starmer starts sending the mentally ill and the disabled back to work in Great Britain, mentally ill, chronic mental health illness, right, that need help and support in the community, not shoving out to work. Do you know what I mean? You've really got to think when you start, you know, making people go back to work, whether they really are able to. Whether they're able to or not, whether they're off work for a reason. We know we've got people that are taking the piss and they're staying at home and they're not disabled, but some people are really, really mentally disabled, and to send them back to work without being treated properly or having care could be dangerous. And our country is letting prisoners, Great Britain is letting prisoners out early that have been involved in violence and child abuse, right? And these things happen. Do you see what I'm saying? These things will happen. And who is allowing it? Who's allowing it? As well, you've got to look into that. Who's done this? Who's allowed it to happen? Mental health is as bad as being physically ill. How do you know that person isn't mentally ill and they're putting it on? Are you living in their shoes? A person with schizophrenia lives in a different world. They think they're gods, they think they're a king. And you send someone like that to work, you are putting your workers' lives at risk. Do you see where I'm coming from? Really think before you pick on people that are mentally ill and disabled and send them off to work. You don't know what they're feeling inside their minds. And you're putting other people on the street and workers at risk, right? Why don't they our government try and get money from other sources instead of picking on people that really are ill and not fit to work? See you later.